Welcome to the Life Unscripted podcast with Rosabel, the place where genuine conversations meet inspiring stories, personal growth, and a dash of humor. I'm Rosabel, your host, inviting you to embrace life's unpredictable journey. Celebrate your unique story and find joy in everyday moments. Get comfortable, stay curious, and let's explore together. Unscripted, unapologetic, and unstoppable. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Life Unscripted podcast with Rosabel. Today, we have a fascinating conversation lined up for you. Have you ever thought that your snoring could actually be impacting more than just your sleep? Well, our special guest today is Tiffany Ludwicki, and she is a myofunctional therapist. She's going to bring us an inspiring story of resilience, innovation, and personal transformation. Tiffany's journey began with homelessness, but through determination and passion, she earned a university degree and she opened up her own dental hygiene practice. When regulatory barriers stood in her way, she transitioned her practice online, creating programs designed to help people stop snoring and reclaim their health and vitality. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you so much for having me, Rosabel. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. Tiffany, tell us what myofunctional therapy is and how you became interested in this unique field.
Myofunctional therapy is pretty much a blend between physical therapy and personal training, but from the neck up. So it works on training, strengthening, building endurance of the muscles of the tongue and the face, or providing stretch and relaxation of other muscles so they can work harmoniously in the way that we breathe, sleep, eat, and talk. And this is a multi-level question. So that's basically the basic goals really is to improve how you breathe, which is through the nose, and then to have the tongue working properly so you can swallow. And I got involved. Actually, it came in many steps. So initially I went into health coaching to help my dental hygiene clients because I worked for a gum disease specialist and sometimes I couldn't get people better. And so I was like, what is going on? And I wanted to connect the mouth and the body. And I started that route. I kind of healed a little bit of my own self, my own self-worth. And it kind of made me get more involved with my clients. And then I started to see some issues and I was linking the mouth with the body from what I learned. And I was referring people out for sleep studies. They were coming back on multiple occasions. People came back and literally used the words, "You saved my life," because they got put on a CPAP machine. Their doctors would say they're days away from a massive heart attack. They had no idea they even had sleep apnea. They didn't know that snoring was an issue. And, anyways, that was amazing just to even get those results. And then my baby was born and she had sleep issues and she was mouth breathing. Babies should be obligate nasal breathers. They shouldn't be mouth breathing. It changes the way their face forms and how they get oxygen to their brain and their growth. And I was like, but if my baby has this issue, and she did have sleep apnea events, and an ENT confirmed it through a video. She didn't have swollen adenoids and tonsils, so she wasn't breathing out of necessity through her mouth. And it's not like her snoring was from intoxication or being overweight and the things that we generally truly believe are the causes of sleep apnea. It wasn't that. So I was like, there's got to be something more. And so I took it to the next level after just my basic training as I went into this field of myofunctional therapy. And I was able to do that because of my background in dental hygiene. And along the process of learning how I was going to help her in the future, I resolved my snoring, which again, at the time, I didn't know at that time snoring was an issue. My husband wore like swimmer's earplugs to try to drown me out. I thought I was an amazing sleeper because I would literally, and I have on multiple occasions, nodded off while being on the back of a motorcycle. I would fall asleep like mid-conversation. I just thought like I could sleep anywhere, anytime. I thought it was kind of a blessing. But it turns out that all these years I was sleep deprived without knowing it. And that's why I was just so tired. My body has been running on cortisol more than the natural hormones that we need throughout the day just to have the ebbs and flows. I'm just on high cortisol drive. And that was because I was snoring for years and years. And also learned that's likely why I might have had a few like night sweats and hot flashes and why I might have memory loss from a young age. So my whole story from a baby to realizing that was me to solving both of our problems to then helping clients one-on-one and the extra things that I help them with their life, whether it's relationship or the ability to travel again, it made me realize that I can't limit my exposure to helping people to one-on-one because my time is a limited resource. And that's what made me create an online program so I could be there to help more people really change the quality of their life and improve it.
That is awesome. Tell me, who typically seeks your help? What are they experiencing when they come to you?
It generally tends to be people who sometimes it's a spouse of a snoring partner because they're not getting the sleep they want. And so they're looking for answers. But the people who seek my help for improving their life are obviously people that snore. They are sick and tired. They're noticing their blood pressure is raising. They're having a hard time managing their blood sugar, their glucose levels, despite eating a healthy diet. They recognize that sleep because sometimes the lucky ones won't just get put on medication for prediabetes. They'll actually have doctors that question their sleep because poor sleep does cause poor blood sugar regulation. But it is generally the people that have like tried everything for their snoring. They're ready to give up. They're dealing with anxiety. They have depression because of the lack of sleep, what it does to our mental health. And they're really just, they've tried everything and then they finally come across me. Some people have had surgeries. Some people had the CPAP machine and they can't wear it. They hate it. And yet that's life changing. And they finally find out myofunctional therapy or they hear about these connections and they try it. And it works wonders for people with the CPAP. I'll never take someone off of a CPAP machine. But if their doctor does, or if it actually becomes something that's manageable and it's tolerable, then they obviously, by having a tolerable machine that's going to prevent maybe drowsy driving, which kills, or prevent Alzheimer's or heart disease, then it becomes something, like I said, that doesn't just save their life, but it improves their quality of life.
That is important. What are some surprising symptoms that you'll say people might not realize are connected to their snoring?
Hey, oh my gosh, there are a lot. So it's like a puzzle piece. One of the main ones, though, which is obvious to me as a dental hygienist, but not necessarily obvious to all dental professionals, teeth grinding. So if we are grinding our teeth, we're having these mini episodes, even if it's not full sleep apnea, where when we fall into a deep sleep, our jaw kind of falls back from gravity and it blocks our airway slightly. And then the body doesn't get oxygen to the brain and the brain panics. So it's going to do whatever it is to keep you alive. And what that's going to do is it's going to jut your jaw forward to open up the airway. And so you jut and your teeth rub against each other and then you fall back into deep sleep and then your jaw juts forward again. And you have this multiple back and forthing of the jaws. Sometimes people will even end up clenching. Their body will get to a point where they've jut their jaw forward, and as a natural mechanism, the muscles of the jaw clench down to hold it open to try to keep your tongue and your jaw out of your airway. And so you can wake up and you can end up with jaw pain. So it's TMJ or a TMJ disorder, and headaches and migraines. There could also be an underlying tongue tie. And if the tongue falls down on the lower part of your mouth, and let's say it can't get in the right position, you haven't strengthened it to go in the right position, then you have a lot of air in your mouth. And when you're swallowing up to 2,000, 2,500 times a day, you're swallowing a lot of air. And that changes your gut microbiome and the pH of your stomach. And this is huge in our world right now. Gut microbiome there's a lot of research on it. So if you don't have high enough pH in your stomach, you're going to be slow to digest your food. So you can cause more bloating and gas. That's going to create this pressure in the stomach. And if you don't have enough stomach acid to there's a type of pressure, and I'll try not to be too scientific with it, but to close the valve, then it'll open up and you can end up with like acid reflux symptoms. And you could have full on acid reflux, or you could just be someone who goes to the dentist and has a lot of acid erosion in their mouth. They don't realize, but it's a silent reflux that's happening throughout the night. It's the leaking of the stomach acid out. Right?
Wow.
Might not be strong enough in the stomach,
Right.
but it is strong enough to cause a problem within our mouth and our esophagus. So and of course, body pain. The tongue and the toes are connected by one piece of fascia. And so we could end up having this tightness, and that's keeping us forward and it's blocking our airway. And we could end up having a bit of restriction within our airway. So I think those might be some of the main ones. And of course, relationship divorces happen because of this. You just end up not having resilience because you have two sleep deprived partners that can't handle stress. And so it does cause relationship issues as well.
My question to this is, why do you think most people have not heard about myofunctional therapy?
Well, I'm not saying it's new because it has been around in many places for many years, but doctors, and that's a really good question, and I don't want to make anybody angry here, but doctors, dentists, ENTs, we learn like to see changes within the mouth, but we don't actually learn much about sleep in general or nutrition in general. And the tongue is a breathing and a digestion muscle. And that's a lot of times what's blocking the airways. But when it comes down to it, doctors get less than 5 hours of training on sleep, and dentists don't. And we're the ones seeing these dysfunctions in the mouth, and we're not learning about that. And even the same thing with ENTs, they're not associating certain things. Like we're all so siloed. And a lot of the breathing modalities and the improvement modalities, they tend to be more on the prevention side of things. And our system is really geared towards diagnosis of disease.
That's
It's not
exactly what I was
really,
gonna say, yeah.
yeah, it's not really looking at you're not feeling your best. You might not be diagnosable right now, but you're not optimal. And yeah, we just don't focus on trying to find optimal life. We're focused on disease prevention. And that's, if you ask me what health is not being like disease free. It's about being able to live a good quality of life, that you have mental resilience and that you have mobility to go out there and handle your day and play with your children and just be happy. Like normal, like, I don't wanna be normal because normal means you're dehydrated, you're undernourished, you're overstressed and stimulated, and you're just not living a good life. You're just getting by. And yeah, that's a little bit of a side note of that,
Yeah.
but that's how I look at trying to improve people's health.
One of the things I've noticed is that people often try numerous solutions without success, you know. Can you explain why is it that common treatments like CPAP, nasal strips, surgery, even surgeries
Okay, absolutely. It's a great question because this is what I get asked so many times. Like, I've tried everything. Well, so if you think about it, nasal strips, they open up your nasal passages, which is great. But if your restriction is down in your throat and in your mouth, not in your nose, well, then they might help a little bit by improving the air that gets in there, but it's not going to resolve the airway issue. So that's one thing. And for some people, they're great. And like my nose, actually, when I breathe in, my nostrils close. So for me, like a dilator or something, sometimes tools are needed for certain people to improve it. But again, that's not going to stop my snoring if I also have restriction in my airways lower down. So that's nasal strips. So the CPAP machine. Well, the CPAP machine has very low tolerance. Some people, it ends up within 5 years. I think it's 50%. I don't have the exact numbers, and I have them somewhere. But within 5 years, 50% of people are using it. I'm like, but they need it, and it's life saving. And it just doesn't get used. It's uncomfortable. They can end up with dry mouth. They are embarrassed. There's so much shame around CPAP use or snoring and embarrassment to be able to bring that machine. And then there's things like surgeries. Surgeries are cutting out your airway. But if your habits don't change, then you're actually not going to solve the problem because a lot of snoring is also a habit. Like, yes, the common things we think about is to lose weight and then you don't have the fatty tissue there. But if your anatomy is in the way and you kind of cut it out, but you still are not breathing the proper way, then you can take in the oxygen, but you're just going to breathe it back out and you're not going to have better sleep and you're not going to feel better and wake up rested, despite your snoring sounds might go away for a while. They could potentially go away forever, but you might not be getting the quality sleep that you expect. Trying to think. Oh, Oral appliances, same thing. They're hard to wear and get used to. Sometimes they can restrict your ability to talk. Not that you need to talk in the middle of the night, but I tried one of those out when my baby was younger, and I couldn't respond to her like I needed to because you got this, you got to take out your appliances, and it's kind of yucky. But again, it can work. But if people want to stop their snoring and improve how they feel and they want to wake up rested, then sometimes there's a root cause to it. The myofunctional therapy can address those root causes.
Tiffany, what do you do to help people? Like, what are some strategies that you say, okay, this really works?
Well, first it's nasal breathing. So there are steps. So the main first goal of myofunctional therapy is to breathe through your nose. And the reason for that is because we create a chemical in our nose that helps open up our blood vessels so oxygen can get into not just our blood, but get into our cells. And so I do techniques to help people learn how to regulate their chemistry between oxygen and carbon dioxide and get comfortable with the changes that are needed in order for oxygen, like I said, to transfer from blood to the cells. And then when that's done, if people have a habit of mouth breathing, we need to work on exercises to strengthen the lips. So like you can do this with kids. So I see a lot of children and I see a lot of adults. They both benefit. Children more especially because it can actually change the shape of your face. That was an interesting fact I didn't talk about because I didn't really get into kids as much. But the main thing is we're strengthening up the lips. You can do exercises to maybe stretch the lips to work on that lip seal and then strengthen them so they can close naturally and stay closed at rest. And then there's exercises that we need for the tongue. So the tongue at rest should actually live on the roof of our mouth. Unfortunately, I don't have my demo here. It's in my office, but we have our upper
Like
jaw.
curb towards the mouth?
Yes. Yes. So not just the tip of the tongue up to the roof of the mouth, the middle and the back. We want to close up our entire mouth by using our tongue to block the airway so air can come from our nose right down and not seep out in any way. Right? So the tongue should live on the roof of our mouth. This is what it would look like if I opened nice and wide. A lot of people have their tongue resting on the floor of their mouth, even with their lips closed. The tongue could be down, or it could be resting on their teeth. Some people have it to the
Mine is,
tip,
yeah.
and some people have just the tip, but not the whole tongue. Right?
Hmm.
And so having the whole tongue up there. So I work on exercises that work on the inside of the muscles and the outside tongue muscles. So in coordination, like teaching coordination or kind of tickling the back of the throat. But the main thing is training the tongue to get up within the upper teeth, living inside the top teeth. So I have little tools like, not that I recommend raisins or Cheerios. I usually use like little tiny elastics. And we train the tongue to go to certain spots and we progress it. So you get more and more of the tongue learning to get on the roof of our mouth. And then we learn there's certain, you should work kind of the sides of your tongue muscles before you move to other ones. And so there's a series of exercises that are strategically made to build upon the proper way to function the tongue and how to have rest posture. Like we should learn how to crawl before we walk. Some people skip it. And if babies skip the crawling before the walking, then they should see like an occupational therapist, or there is a connection within their brain that has to do with spatial awareness, that has to do with crawl before you walk. Right. And so my exercises, I take posture into consideration because you can train your tongue to do all this, but if your airway's blocked, well, you know what? We really should work on your posture. So I take posture into account. I take jaw movements. If you're grinding and clenching, I want to stabilize those before I give you exercises because I want to make sure that your spine is ready to support the strength and endurance that the tongue is now going to do. Right. And so I actually incorporate a more holistic approach to myofunctional therapy. And then not just the exercises, but mindset matters. You have to know that this is going to work for you. You're going to have to be able to commit. I don't want to just help anybody. I want people that really want to see a difference and benefit to do this because it's work. It's physical therapy. You need to do the exercises to strengthen it. And then so the mindset and the coaching helps. And I have sleep rituals because again, I'm not just addressing one aspect. I want to address the client's entire sleep environment, the sleep rituals that start first thing we wake up in the morning.
A
So I
sleep
also
hygiene.
incorporate, yes, exactly, sleep hygiene. And so it's all part of the puzzle. And so I incorporate those into my program, which makes it a little bit different than just like when you go to a physical therapist, these are the exercises you have to do, you move on, you just kind of go through a series. I have cherry picked them in specific orders and I've addressed it to deal with the issues that people that snore and have sleep apnea tend to suffer or deal with.
I'm usually amazed, because I see clients, I work in neurology, and so I work with how sleep can affect, the brain. And so I'm amazed at how most people don't even know there's something called sleep hygiene. It's like, what is that? And so I explain, okay, these are some series of, rituals, things that will allow steps that will help you get a better night's rest. So very, very important. Tiffany, can you share one of your proudest moments, like or favorite client? Of course, we're not gonna, but success stories.
Obviously, myself is one, the fact that I was able to recognize these and stop snoring and improve my relationship with my husband and my daughter. Because without my experiencing it, I wouldn't know the importance to share it with other people. So I'm not an N of one. That is just me personally. But I think one person that comes to mind, it was a gentleman. He already did a lot of important health and like mental health approaches, but he heard me on a podcast that we had another connection with, and it had to do with a breathing and cold therapy thing. And when he found out about the snoring, and he was like, I can't, could my ear issues have to do with snoring and the jaw? And so we met and he was quite capable and functional. It wasn't a lot of dysfunctions, and this is myofunctional disorder, so you think of a disorder, but the symptoms he was having, I was like, I know I can help with this, but I didn't want to guarantee it. But he did the exercises and we worked through it, and he was able to travel for work and no longer get the ear pain. The ringing in his ears went away. He wasn't clenching and grinding because his jaw was supported by the natural rest postures that I gave him. And he actually ended up going and becoming a health coach for people with anxiety. And so that's rewarding because it wasn't just him, but now he is providing a resource and a passion that he can share with the world. So to me, it's not only how great I can make another person feel, but it's how they're going to impact other people and let that trickle throughout and the love and the happiness spread to more and more people.
So that is amazing. I'm glad you shared that story. What about simple but impactful, like you say, the impact advice that would you give to our listeners who snore, who have sleep issues, like something that perhaps they can go try tonight?
Well, the main thing is if you're snoring and you know you can feel better and you want to feel better, then keep searching, right? Don't give up because there will be solutions for you. Now, you can sit and you can research all about this. You can come and join me in my Facebook group and learn about different things that are out there that you might want to try. But the main thing is try something because you might at this point think that there's nothing you can do about your snoring. You have to wait until you're diagnosed and then here's a machine or here's a surgery. But even those things, there is an end point and there's restrictions and there's risks. Like myofunctional therapy, it's really almost risk-free. Really, there's not gonna be any harm done by doing it, so you can go ahead and you can try this, even just practice some of those exercises that I did today. Now, mind you, they're gonna help strengthen your tongue, they're not gonna get you the results you want, but I do have a free guide that has a breathing technique that I created based on all of the breathing modalities and myofunctional therapy, and so we can share that free guide.
Yeah, that's a start.
Yeah, yeah, but the main thing is, like, keep looking because there's a solution to everything out there, and you'll find what works best for you.
So, what's your biggest challenge in helping clients overcome snoring and sleep issues?
The biggest challenge with anyone wanting to improve their health is the clients believing that they can. I also have a challenge in the fact that I'm in a little box where I live up in Newfoundland, and there's not a lot of people around here doing it. And so when you don't have the medical care professionals providing this information for people, then they don't know to find it. So I find that's a challenge. It's exercise, and so people have to have the time commitment to do it, and they have to really want to do it. So, and that's another reason why not just myself, but other myofunctional therapists will decide whether or not they're going to work with somebody because they don't, especially because it's so new and we know how important it is and that it can work. We don't want people to try it and not complete therapy because then people, there's going to be people saying that it doesn't work
Right.
when we know that it can. So I think maybe that's the biggest challenge, the awareness and then the accountability.
Yes. Well, yeah, accountability in general, I mean, it's a big challenge in a lot of it, in our medical system and patients we see, unfortunately. But hey, the more awareness we create, then the better, right? Now, looking ahead, what are your goals or dreams for expanding your impact and helping more people?
Well, I guess if we go back to that client I talked about and the fact that he was able to now have the energy and less pain to fulfill his passion and help people, that's one thing. The ability to see people now, not just one to one, but be in a group to support each other, it's going to create more results, more success, more happiness. And then when people have the energy and the resilience to handle their days, they're going to be able to achieve more. And so by me helping clients, I'm helping families grow and I'm helping communities grow. Also, I do put time aside. I've been working there. It's not fully even in it's envisioned, let's say, but we haven't put it out there is a nonprofit association because not everybody can afford to do this. And I want to be able to work with another education and wellness. She was a teacher and she wants to get the basics of health out there. And the way that we breathe and the way that we sleep is basic. Like you can go minutes without air before you die. Yet you can go days without sleep. That's the second most important thing. Weeks to months without food and water. I'm like, the foundation of health is the way that we breathe and our ability to heal, which happens at nighttime when we sleep.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Tiffany,
so a little nonprofit.
yeah, that's awesome. So how do listeners, where can they find you?
I'm on social media. I am Mind Body Mouth Coach on Instagram. You can find me as Mind Body Mouth on Facebook. I have a website, mindbodymouth.net. I have a YouTube channel, Tiffany Ludwicki. I'm not great at posting things there, but I do want to get better. I have a lot of short format stuff there, and I would like to have a YouTube channel a little bit more. And then through my socials, then there's
Mm.
the way
And you
to
have a
reach
Facebook
me.
group, right?
Yes, I have Sleep Solutions with Tiffany is my Facebook group. And that's a free Facebook group. It's just information I just provide questions that people might come up with. I'll just put posts out there and it's a community. I'll ask questions on how I can support people better. And
Where can they find the links to your free resources and detailed programs?
on
And
Facebook and Instagram,
okay,
yeah, they're both on there. There's a little link button in the bio. And so there's a webinar if they want to learn more information on pretty much what we talked about today. As well as yes, the free guide, which helps people discover why they snore, right? That's important too. So that way we can determine whether or not myofunctional therapy or myself is the right way for them, or whether or not they do need to consider certain forms of surgery and stuff. I can offer sleep audits for people too if they don't want to just kind of self-pace themselves and they want me to meet with them and find out, then I have those options as well.
that's awesome. Tiffany, there was something. Is there anything else that you want to tell our audience, our listeners, that I have not mentioned here, that I haven't asked? Something like, okay, this is important. This is something I want them to take.
I think you did a wonderful job with asking questions. And it's actually lovely that you're in neurology and you understand, you see the impact of poor sleep. And so you know the importance of it. So I think you asked questions to really help our listeners understand the importance of what I do. But I think it's really that snoring is not okay. And we
Yes.
think, like I said, we think it's normal or funny, but especially with a child, really helping them at a young age is important. But yeah, just knowing that it can impact so many areas of our life that we might not associate snoring to cause an effect. And
You know
So
what you said was it's so powerful. You just said it in the perfect way. Snoring is not okay. I grew up with an uncle that was like snoring and it was like, oh, they're snoring. That's what he does at night, right? It was so common. It must be okay, right? But it's not okay. It will
yeah,
definitely improve our life, our quality of life if we take care of those things.
yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I've always said, oh, I'll just finish them with my motto before I even got into sleep when it was just health coaching was look, feel, think, and perform better. And it's even more in alignment now with what I do than when I started like 10 years ago doing coaching versus just myofunctional therapy, because I really want people to live longer and not die longer. And
Right.
so
Well,
that's,
we do actually, due to new technologies, we have people actually now living even longer. But like I always say, okay, quantity is important, but then quality of life. And then
exactly.
you also mentioned those relationships with family and how we take approach of our day to day. Are we going to be like sleepy? And then it also will help us, avoid accidents. I mean, so many things. This is a great, great topic. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Tiffany.
You're
Go
welcome.
for it. No, we're
Okay.
still.
That reminded me, I have seen people in my dental hygiene chair that I know they have sleep apnea and snoring issues, and I have referred them for sleep studies. And they literally have told me, I don't want to have a sleep study because I know I'll have my license restricted. And I know someone personally that has lost their license. And so again, with the snoring not being okay, it's like you could kill a family, not just yourself. You could fall asleep behind the wheel and you could kill somebody because of your snoring and sleep apnea, and you just don't want the inconvenience. So why not do a therapy that can reverse that and you can save your life or someone else's?
And
Can't believe I didn't add that part in
no,
this because
well,
that was like,
I'm glad you mentioned that because when it comes to sleep issues, sleep problems, let's say snoring is just the tip of the iceberg. It's kind of telling us that there's something wrong. But there are other sleep disorders out there that even, much worse. Like you
absolutely.
said, people can just lose even consciousness or for a few, mimic some type of a seizure spells, like you're right. And imagine if you're in some type of profession that requires your complete, and then only the understanding in so many ways, you are right. See, it's
Yeah.
definitely. I would like to have you back sometime. I don't know, whenever. You're always welcome to this space to kind of, if you find any new research, anything you want to share with us, feel free. I just want to thank you so much for such an enlightening conversation today. And I'm going to mention back to the listeners that if this conversation resonated with you today, please don't forget to subscribe and follow the Life Unscripted podcast as well to make sure and connect with Tiffany. You can do it on Instagram, right? At Mind Body Mouth Coach, and also on Facebook. And there is that Facebook we talked about, Facebook group, Sleep Solutions with Tiffany. Don't miss out. Grab her free guide to discover the real reasons behind your snoring. And there should be links for free and resources there and with detailed programs, including the Stop Snoring Solution and the Stop Snoring Strategy that will be available in today's show notes. So until next time, live your life unscripted. Thank you, Tiffany.
So much for having me.